Yeah, I apologize. I have no idea what happened. All I did is I just had to download and start it back up. But that's this technology, I guess. So we got enough people. Hopefully, what I'm going to do is I'm going to recap because you probably couldn't hear me. Um, Very simply, I took the cucumber and I sliced the cucumber. Not sliced it, but I peeled the cucumber and I wanted to leave some color on it. That's why I left the stripes on it. And then instead of using a mandolin, because using a mandolin, you can get really nice thin slices and they're all exactly consistent, but I'm only doing one cucumber. So I didn't want to go through the hassle of having to clean the mandolin and all that kind of stuff. So slicing with a knife is just good enough. If I was doing like potatoes and onions and carrots and all different types of things where I had to do a lot of slicing, then it would be worthwhile for me to use the mandolin. Once I got that done, then I mixed up the apple cider vinegar. You want to use apple cider vinegar and not regular vinegar, and the sugar. And I dissolved it as best as I could. Then I put the cucumbers in and mixed them around, make sure they're all coated with that sugary, vinegary water. Put plastic wrap on it, and it's in the fridge. The next, what I did is I took, now we're gonna make the sauerkraut. And what I did is I took the sauerkraut and I drained it, but I didn't rinse it. I like the little more sour taste to it. You feel free to take and rinse it if you want to. It's really not necessary for me, but now that I've got this drained, I'm just going to set this aside. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my kielbasa, and with the kielbasa, now I have to figure out what I did with my knife. Here it is. So with the kielbasa, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slice this into these little chunks here, because instead of using bacon or something like that, I'm going to use the ends of the kielbasa. And then for this is going to be the servings. I'm going to cut these on a bias like this. Oops. And I'm going to set these aside right now. And for these pieces here, this is what I'm going to saute with my onions and have these bits of kielbasa in with that. So I'm going to slice these into little pieces. And you can make these pieces the size that you want. I like them to be, some decent sized chunks. So when you're eating your sauerkraut, you get these little pieces of kielbasa in it. And a lot of sauerkraut that you get. I've been to Germany a multitude of times, been to Poland. I've had the sauerkraut from the northern part of Germany all the way down to the southern part of Germany and Bavaria. And depending upon where you are, it's done a little differently. It tastes a little differently. Surprisingly, in Poland, the sauerkraut is very similar, or kapusta they call it, is very similar to German. So, and there's a lot of similarity in the foods between Poland and Germany. After all, they're right next to each other. So I mean, when you start hearing people talk about, well, that's not authentic Polish or that's not authentic German, that's a bunch of baloney. The real authenticity, as I've said in my posts and comments before, where people say it's not authentic, authenticity resides within the family, okay? Each family has their own traditional way of making things. And what's a tradition for one family may not be a tradition for another family. So it's really a misnomer to try to say that that it's not authentic. Now what I did, you saw me, I reached back in the sink. This is the bowl that I had the apple cider vinegar in. And instead of just tossing it out, I can put my kielbasa and hold it there. I'll take these links and I'm going to set these aside for right now. And now we've got to dice up our onion. And the onion, what we want is we want slivers. So when you want slivers, because the cabbage or the sauerkraut is in like little pieces. So you want to cut these to be similar in size and pieces to the sauerkraut. And so all you do is, in this case, you cut both ends off. You peel off the skin layer, and usually you have to take one layer of the onion off with the skin to get it completely off. And so I'm going to do that. And then all we do simply is we lay it on the side, and we don't want to cut it this way. If you cut it the lengthways this way, what you're going to do is the cells of the onion will break down and you get mushy onions. So you want to go with the seams. You can see how the onion has like vertical lines. You want to cut along with that because that helps the onion maintain its shape all throughout the cooking process. I'm going to take these onions and I'm just going to place them in a bowl because we're going to be getting to the stove in a second, and we're going to be doing some sauteing of these onions and the mushrooms, and then eventually the kielbasa. So I'm going to set this aside with our kielbasa bits. Now I'm going to take our mushrooms, and the mushrooms, what we're going to do is we're just going to slice these into half. And then we're going to slice these into pieces like this. We don't want them to be too big, but we don't want them to be too small. We want to make sure that when someone gets a piece of the mushroom, that they know that it's there. We don't want it to dissolve in with the sauerkraut and get lost. Now again, you don't have to put mushrooms in. Some sauerkraut doesn't have mushrooms. Mostly they'll use bacon instead of kielbasa bits. And some you'll see they'll put like caraway seeds in. There's a multitude of different ways that you can make the sauerkraut or kapusta. This is the way I make our family sauerkraut. Sometimes I know my wife likes when I put potatoes in with the sauerkraut. This one won't have potatoes. Oh, got a piece here that I didn't cut. And guys, when you're cooking, it's always good. Get yourself some cups or something like this because it just makes cooking that much more easier. When you can take and prep things ahead of time and get everything in its place, then all you have to do is assemble it. So now we got these done. One last thing I'm going to do is I've got to peel my apple. You use what apple you want. It can be a sweet one. It can be a tart one. Whatever you feel like, whatever type that you like to eat is the apple that you should use. Does anybody have any questions? I've got the opportunity to look at the screen while I'm over here. Someone said, I hope you have a new, Brian said, I hope you have a new cucumber. Nope, we just had the one. Sorry, Brian. I'm glad it happened on the cucumber because that was the easiest of all to do. And so now the apple, what I'm doing is I'm cutting the apple into pieces. This apple, I'm going to cut these real fine into strips. And these aren't necessarily going to dissolve, but they're going to get real soft in the mix of everything in a sauerkraut, and it's going to add a little bit of natural sweetness. I'm also going to have sweetness you'll see in the recipe that I'll show at the end of the video here with some brown sugar. And when I look at brown sugar, and when you look at it, sometimes I use dark brown sugar, which has a little more molasses in it. Sometimes I use light brown sugar. And I'm really not that, there's a bit of a difference in flavor, but not something so dramatic that it would significantly change whether or not it would be good or not. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to have to move it over to the stove because I don't have a burner, tabletop burner that's strong enough to do some of the things that I need. So I'm going to move it over the stove and we're going to start making the sauerkraut and get that going because that's going to take probably about 20 minutes for it to really cook down the way we want it to. And that'll be just enough time for us to make our potato pancakes. Potato pancakes are made last because once we get the batter done, we're at the stove and we're frying them up, and that's the end of the cooking process. Then we're ready to eat. So excuse the motion here. Get you guys as close as I can to the frying pan. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my heat up to medium high. I'm going to take my butter and my olive oil. I'm going to put it in the pan and I'm going to get this so the butter's all melted. And you're going to want to use a slotted spoon for this. Now, when I make my sauerkraut, I use red wine. Red wine is optional. You don't have to use it, but I really love the depth of flavor that red wine gives. And so that's why mine always has a bit of it. And if you're going to use wine for anything, people always say, what type of wine should I use? If I use red wine, should I use dry wine? Should I use sweet wine? What should I use? Use the wine that you like to drink. If there's any particular type, if you want a Pinot Noir, use that. If you want to use Lambrusco, which is sweeter, go ahead and use that. You want to use Chardonnay, if that's what you like drinking, use that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both my onion and my kielbasa. I'm going to put these in together and I'm going to stir these and saute them just for a little bit. While these are in there, even though the kielbasa has some salt in it, I'm going to sprinkle in just a little bit of salt. And what that's going to do is that's going to sweat the onions a bit and get some of their moisture out a little quicker. And we're not cooking these onions down. We don't want them to be fully caramelized because they're going to cook and they're going to get soft. And we want them to be just a contrast in texture to the sauerkraut. So now I've got these going like this. Next, I'm going to put my mushrooms in. Now, mushrooms, typically, when I cook mushrooms, I'll take the mushrooms, I'll put them in a dry pan by themselves, and I'll take and get all of the moisture out of the mushrooms until they start turning brown. And then I'll take them out, and then I'll put them in whatever I'm cooking, and they'll absorb the flavor of whatever's there. In this case, I'm not really worried that much about that. So I'm just putting the mushrooms in. As you see, there's not a whole lot, but just enough. And these mushrooms are going to cook down quite a bit. This is a really, really simple type of sauerkraut to make. It takes a little bit of time when you actually put everything together to let it simmer. So I'm going to let this go for a little bit. I've got to get a little bit of water. I'm going to kick the heat up to high. Up. So now I've got this cooked a little bit. The mushrooms, I'm not really trying to cook them or brown them or anything. I don't want them to get all really overly soft at this point. So the next step is I'm going to add my seasoning in, and I'm going to stir the seasoning in right now. And I'm going to stir my wine in. And we're going to let this wine just boil for about maybe 30 seconds or so, just to get rid of most of the alcohol. Any questions so far? Anything I can answer? I'll try to take a look at what's going on while I'm cooking. I've sort of got an obsession as I cook, I like to clean and move things over to the sink. So I hate a cluttered kitchen. So just smelling this. Again, this, if I were making like a red wine reduction sauce, I would have the wine in there and I'd be reducing it down to almost nothing to really take and intensify the flavor of the wine. But this is right where I want it. I can smell that the alcohol's out. So now we're going to simply add our sauerkraut. Now we're going to stir and mix all of this together. And while I stir and mix this together, now I'm going to add my brown sugar. And I'm going to mix everything as thoroughly as possible. I've got the heat up on high still, but I'm constantly stirring. There's quite a bit of liquid, so I don't have to worry about anything burning. Now, some people like to put garlic in there. Mine doesn't have any garlic. And I forgot one thing. Because I didn't have it in my little red container, I forgot to add the apple. And we're going to stir the apple bits around. This looks pretty simple, doesn't it? Just a few steps, but if you have everything prepped ahead of time, to just assemble something like this is so easy. And you know what? And then you have a homemade dish that just is uncompromised by anything else that's out there. So now I have this. I'm going to smash it down. And now I'm going to add some water. I'm going to add some water until it's just over the top. Just a little bit more. So you put the water just over the top, and what that allows you to do, it allows you to now get all of these flavors to intermingle while you're boiling. I'm going to bring this up to a boil. You'll see, it'll only take a couple minutes, a couple seconds to get there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera again, because what I'm going to do once this comes to a full boil, then I'm going to put the cover on it and I'm going to set it to simmer, and I'm just going to leave it alone. So let's take and move the camera back to where it was. See my marks on the floor? That's to let me know where to put my camera and try to get them back in their same places. So now we're going to make the potato pancakes. And this is something I'm going to tell you right now. The backstory behind this is my dad used to always make these. And my dad would use one of these graters. And he would take on the small grating holes, and he would grate the onions with the small grating holes by hand and the potatoes. And there are different theories on potato pancakes, different types. There are some that are real thick, like latkes, like Jewish latkes, that are thick and like this. They almost look like McDonald's hash browns. Okay, but of course, much better when they're homemade. There are those that are a little thinner and a little bigger. And then there's ours, okay? Those other ones, what they do is they take the potatoes when they're done and they squeeze out all the liquid. And so they want a drier potato pancake. The way my dad liked them is he actually made it like a pancake batter. And you'll see when they fry, they thin out, the edges get crispy while the insides, there'll only be like maybe about 1/4 of an inch thick in the center. They're not very thick, but oh man, are they good. So anyways, this is the way my dad did it. In my other video showing how I make them, I got criticized because I use a food processor. Go ahead and criticize me. I'm not going to bust my knuckles. My dad, God bless him, he did that. But same size holes, okay, using a small edge. New technology, a lot quicker. So a little backstory on that. So now the sauerkraut is to a boil. I've got the cover on and I've got it set to simmer. And we're just going to let that go for the rest of the cooking time. So now I've got to find my potato peeler. I know it was here somewhere. Where did you go? Here it is. Unfortunately, what I did is what I always do when I'm done with something. I stuck it in the sink, so I rinsed it off. So now I know it's boring, and let me see carefully. How do you redo this video? Would love to watch it all, but it's too choppy. Is it choppy? Are you guys seeing a choppy video right now? Is this, let me see, Corinne Moog said that, asked if I could do a redo of the video because it's choppy. I'd like to know from the rest of you if you're experiencing the same thing with this. Okay, thank you, Linda. Linda says no. So maybe the problem's at the viewer's end. Thank you, Janice. So I just love peeling potatoes. You know, I promised you guys that I wasn't going to just have everything all cut up. I wanted to go through, because it's live, might as well take the time and show you all the steps that you have to go through, even if it means peeling potatoes. So I've only got 2 to peel. That's good. Get rid of the garbage here for the first one, because we got to peel the potatoes and we got to slice up an onion. And really, that's the big part of it, because there's eggs, there's milk, there's a little bit of flour, salt, and baking powder. That's all that goes into these. And boy, I tell you what, they're pretty phenomenal. They're not good for my blood sugar, but hey, sometimes it's worth the risk, right? So, anybody else love grating potato or peeling potatoes? Okay, so that's the peeled potatoes. And if you don't have a bench scraper, by all means, get a bench scraper. They're really good. So I want to rinse the potatoes off. So I've rinsed those off. Now I'm going to cut cut my onion. Now this onion's diced a little bit different. And when I cut these pieces for the potato pancakes, we're going to leave them in bigger pieces because I want them in pieces about that big, okay, maybe a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, because when it goes through the grater, that's the size of the grated slices that I'm going to want. So think ahead of time. If I made them real big, then I'd have real long pieces in there. For the onions, I'll dice them a little bit smaller because I don't want big, long slices. So I'll have a little finer dice, but then I'll put them through this grater. and it'll mush them up to be perfect consistency that I want. So let me move my potatoes over here. Take the onion, cut the onion in half, and here I'll show you a couple little tricks. Always keep your root end. When you slice it down the middle and try to keep the root end for both halves. And then only cut the other end off. And move that out, and then peel. Once again, I'm going to lose like one slice on both of them. And I try to take and save as much of the onion as I can when I'm dicing. I don't like to throw too much away. So hopefully you guys can see this. So what I do is you take the onion, and I've got the root away from me, and then I'm going to go in this direction, and I'm going to slice for the width and size of the dice that I want. Okay, I'm going to go all the way through to the end. And you'll see a lot of people will cut like in a size. That really isn't necessary. When you look at the onion, it's already just layered like this. So then I'm going to cut this the same way. And the motion is always down and forward. And so I'm cutting the pieces that I want there. It's a fairly fine dice. And when I get down to this piece, it'd be real easy to just throw this away. But why throw it away? You can take your knife and just take the point of it and put it in, and then cut all the way around this stem. And then that's all you're throwing away of each one of them. Pretty simple to do. And you see I've got really fine pieces that I'm going to be putting through the food processor. So it should give me really fine pieces when I go through there. Do the same thing with this one. And then another knife skill I want to mention to you is you see a lot of people, they'll do this, put their finger on the top of the knife. Don't do that, because when you do that, when you hit it, it's unstable, okay? You see these shapes that's in here on the tang? That's for your finger and your thumb to be. Now, if you feel more comfortable, you can move on the second finger and do it. Whatever feels comfortable for you, because it's all about balance with the knife. So then, see, I've got this big piece here. So I don't want to throw that away. I want to use it because onions are expensive too. Why throw away what you don't need to? And there you go. So that's our onion. I'm just going to put the onion aside here. And now I'm going to cut up the potato. The potato I'm going to do in about 1/2-inch slices. Okay, so you always want to do a flat surface. I have a big table or a big potato. So I just cut the one end off, and I take this and I put it on the flat edge. And that allows me to then cut strips like this. And then I can take each strip, I can cut it into sizes I want, and then just dice it the way I want. Now again, these are going to go through the food processor. And so I've got pretty much, this is the size I want. I want thicknesses that are about like this. And then the pieces I'm going to cut, you can see they're about this big. Okay. We finish this. We got one more potato to go. Hopefully you guys are getting this. Does this look very difficult or look pretty simple to you guys? Yes, May Travis, potato pancakes. Daryl Purdom, how are you? Haven't seen you or talked to you since maybe high school. Good to see you, buddy. Almost done with the dicing. And with this, we're getting pretty close to the final process, because once we have our potato pancakes, the batter made, then it's just a matter of getting over to the oven and frying them. Okay, so now we're going to take our food processor, put our thing on there, and I'm going to start processing first the potatoes. this probably get noisy, so okay, there we go. This is a lot easier than grinding your knuckles, but I got to give it to my dad. That's the way he did it, even though they had a blender. And I know I saw my mom use a blender once. Now I'm going to start with the onions. Be easier to put these in like this, the last bits. And that's it for that. I'm going to take my blade out and I'm going to dump these out, just get them out of the way. So then the next part of the process is going to be to add our egg and our milk and our flour and stuff, and then we're going to blend it all together. I'm going to take the camera so you guys can see what this looks like shredded inside here. And boy, I wish you could smell it. I wish I had, like Emerald used to say, smell-o-vision. But hopefully you can see the shredded portion of it, what it looks like shredded. And now I'm going to take this blade out and I'm going to put my steel blade in. Okay, so I've got to move some of the stuff around a little bit to make room for it. Get my steel blade in here. And once I get the steel blade in, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my processor on just to make sure that that blade is in place. Okay, then I'm going to add in my salt and flour and baking powder. And I'm just going to stir that around a little bit in here just to mix it up a little bit. And now I'm going to put this on, process it, take this portion out, and I'm going to pour the milk in on low. On the process high, and turn it off, and I'm going to take a look at it and see where we are. Okay, so we've got that. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to add in our egg. And here it is, behind the food processor. So now I'm going to put this on low. I'm going to add in the eggs. And the eggs now are going to bring everything together. And that should be it. So I'm going to take my blade out. I'm going to show you this batter. And you can see this is very much like a pancake batter. So, yep, these look a little watery, but that's exactly the way we want them. When we put them down, the egg is going to cook in there and it's going to solidify them. So now we're going to get over to the stove. Before we do that, I want to take the cucumbers out. And I want us to take the cucumbers, drain them, and then what we want to do is we want to add the sour cream and let that mingle a little bit. So here are cucumbers. And I'm going to take this to the sink and I'm going to drain this vinegar and sugar out of here. I'm going to put these in a bowl. Now we'll add our sour cream to this. And I'm going to take 2 spoons and mix this in because we want all of these all nice and mixed up. Now, like I said, oh, and you probably didn't hear it, when I was making this when there was no sound, the real Polish version of this is called miseria. And what that is that has dill in it. It has usually lemon juice and sour cream. Often does not have sugar. And so this is not that. So there are so many people when I've made this before that have said, that's not Polish. Well, guess what? It's a Bojanowski thing. It's our family creamy cucumbers. We love it this way, and that's the way we make it. So if you want to make it some other way, go online and look. If you want to make it the way you've never seen it before, and there's no other recipe like this on the internet, well, and try making this. I think you'll really like it because it's sort of like a sweet and sour type creamy cucumber. So now I'm going to set this aside. And now we're going to go make our potato pancakes. I figured we would get done by about 7:45, but we had 15 minutes of where we got stuck. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap because the sauerkraut should be done. Now it's on simmer. Let's take a look at it. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, it smells so good too. So what I'm going to do with the sauerkraut, I'm going to take my piece of kielbasa. I'm going to mix these in there with them for the last few minutes. And that's just going to warm this kielbasa up and intermingle the flavors of the kielbasa with the sauerkraut. As I move this over to this burner. And now I'm going to heat this up to a medium-high heat. For our potato pancakes. Now, let me take a look and see if we have any questions here. Oh, I'm glad to see other people make it. Oh, Claudia. Claudia Smith. Good to see you. All the way from Stuart, Florida, huh? What other states or regions are each of you from? We're filming, this is in Washington Township, Michigan, which is about, I want to say 40, 45 minutes north of Detroit in Michigan. Where are the rest of you guys from? So waiting for this to really start shimmering, because what we don't want is we don't want to put our potato pancakes in oil that is not ready. When they go in, we should hear the sizzle and we should see them already starting to cook on the bottom. So what I've got here is I've got a light olive oil here. It's a light refined olive oil, so it can take a higher smoke point than regular olive oil, and it's a little cheaper too. So let's take a potato pancake and let's put it in. Oh yeah. So I'm just going to pat that down a bit. And if you see, I'm using a ladle that has holes in it. So any excess liquid is right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm only going to fry 3 of these just to save time, just for plating purposes. Now we're going to let these cook. Just takes a second. Lake Orion, Karen Whalen from Pennsylvania. We have Diane Marner from Sebring, Florida. Ray Lima, my best buddy. How you doing, Ray? We got Alice from Taylor, Amy from Detroit. We got Southeast Michigan. Daryl's from Macomb. Hey, we're not too far. HB's Ohio. We got Massachusetts. I hope you guys are Indiana. I hope you guys are having better weather than we are. Donald Long from Rhode Island. How are you, Donald? Now, see this crispiness? Hopefully you can see the crispiness. That's what we want. Okay, one of the trademarks for our Bojanowski potato pancakes is dark edges with a softer center. Okay, we aren't looking for just a light golden brown anywhere. Let me see, this looks like it might be ready to flip. Oh, and boy, did I mess that up. That's okay, we'll flip it again. It's still going to look good and taste good when I'm done with it. I flipped it a little too soon. Linda's from Clinton Township. Linda, our kids grew up mostly, or for a good portion of the time, in Clinton Township, right there at Garfield and Canal. Hi, Sherry from Garden City. Okay, let me see if I can do better flipping this one. There we go. Now that's a potato pancake. There we go. Let me get this one. I'm not done. I'm not giving up on this one here. That's for sure. Give you guys a close look. That's a Bojanowski potato pancake. I can smell the onion. I can smell the potato. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to put this in my mouth. Let this go a little bit. And once this is done, then I'm ready for plating. Turn the heat up just a little bit. Not giving up on you yet. I think I can flip you over. Oh, you know what? I'm giving up on you. I'm going to pour another one, but you guys aren't going to have to wait for it. That one's got me upset. That's not going to affect the taste. It's just going to affect the appearance. But oh well, what are you going to do? These two should be done. We're still gonna be eating that one. So once I get this, what I can do is I'm gonna start plating. I'm gonna move the camera back over and we're gonna start plating. I'll be there in a second. Just want to move a few things around. I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere, guys. Just getting everything ready. So I'm going to take the potato pancakes here. Stick them here. Got the one more. We're waiting for it to be done. Be right back. I've got the potential of our smoke alarm going off. We've got a real sensitive smoke alarm. So I'm going to take, I've got the potato pancakes that we've got right here. Now I'm going to take some of this good sauerkraut. I'm going to squeeze out as much water as I can. Put some of that right in the middle. And then I'm going to take some of this kielbasa. put some of this kielbasa right here. I'm sorry, you always want it to look good. Because you eat with your eyes first. And then we have our creamy cucumbers. Now, anybody who's Polish or German knows what's missing. You can't have potato pancakes without sour cream. Got 3 pancakes. We need 3 dollops of sour cream. And this, you guys, is live Papa Bojo's Kitchen, making you how I make, with much of how we make our potato pancakes, our creamy cucumbers. They're sweet and sour creamy cucumbers. These are a must try. They're so simple. You got to try them. And then let me know what you think. And then sauerkraut, great sauerkraut. This is sweet. It's got the depth of flavor with the red wine in it and the brown sugar, and it's got the little bits of mushrooms and pieces of kielbasa in it. You got to try that with some kielbasa. And my favorite kielbasa in the Detroit area, except for when I make my own, which I do, is Kowalski. And this is Kowalski. And here it is for you guys. I hope you can see this. And what I'll do is I'll take some closer pictures at the end of the video, and I'll get you guys. This video will be online on my page. And when I get it on my page, I'm going to add all of the recipes right there for you. The written recipes with all the ingredients listed and the process to go through and make it. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of In the Kitchen with Papa Bojo Live. Like to hear from you, get your thoughts, get some of your feedback, because I'm going to continue doing this. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to make, but I might be making a Polish red wine, like a coq au vin, which is maybe some chicken legs cooked in a red wine sauce for you guys. That might be next. Or I'd like to get some of your feedback, some ideas of what you'd like to see me make, something that maybe you've never tried before. You want to see how it's made. Go on my Facebook page, go look through all of my recipes, and I'd be happy to do those live so you can see me go through the process of doing everything. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I do. I just love doing this. Daryl, it's great to see you. Maria, great to see you. You're in Iowa still. Are you here back in Michigan yet? Like to see you again. And with that, it's about 10 after 8. So yeah, I ran a little bit long, but most of it was because of the technical difficulties and not being able to get the volume going. So with that, once again, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of In the Kitchen with Papa Bojo Live. I hope you come back and see me in my next one. This is Polish and German, so smacznego, guten appetit. We'll see you guys. Shutting down now. Take care. Thank you for coming. Bye.